You know, everybody brags about buttermilk pancakes or buttermilk waffles. Well, I do buttermilk corn dogs and funnel cakes. I'm going to show you how to do them coming up right now on Cooking with Chef Bryan. Welcome everybody to Cooking with Chef Bryan. I'm showing you how to do some really delicious corn dogs, but they're just not any corn dogs. Buttermilk corn dogs. You know, people brag about, oh, I have a buttermilk pancake recipe or a buttermilk waffle recipe. Well, now you can brag that you have a buttermilk corn dog recipe, and it's going to start off with some flour, of course. I don't like to do mine straight cornmeal. Now remember, a corn dog is nothing more than a hot dog covered in cornbread. That's all it is. And so if you have a favorite cornbread recipe, you can make that and actually just put a hot dog in there and coat it and deep fry it and get a great corn dog. But I find this is a great recipe for it if you don't happen to have your own. I'm starting off with flour because I don't do 100% cornmeal. I have found that by doing 100% cornmeal, it doesn't stick together as well on the hot dog as if you, when you add the flour to it, because the gluten structure in the flour helps it to stick around the hot dog a little bit better. Now, I wanted to just use specific cornmeal. I wanted you to see that I'm just using one you get at the grocery store. It's not anything special, so you can have whatever type of cornmeal that you want to do and that you have at home. Just use that because that's a good one. And honestly, if I don't have cornmeal, I know there are some times I've gone to do things and I don't have cornmeal in the house, I will actually get my wheat grinder out and I will grind popcorn kernels into cornmeal, and it works great. So that's an idea for you if you wanted to try it. So once we get our flour and cornmeal in there, I'm going to kind of just mix that around a little bit so it's distributed in there nicely. To this, I am going to add some sugar to sweeten it up just a little bit, and we'll add into it our other dry ingredients here. Now for leaveners, we're going to use two different types of leavener in here. Now first of all, we're going to use a baking powder. So baking powder is going to give us that first immediate reaction in there when I go ahead and add in the buttermilk here in just a little bit. Plus when it hits the heat of the oil, it's going to lift also. And so that's the dual acting in a baking powder. And so we're going to use a teaspoon or so of that, a couple of teaspoons, put that into there. And then we're going to use baking soda. Now baking soda actually is in baking powder also, but this is the real stuff here. This one's very, very concentrated. And so we're only going to use about a half a teaspoon in here, baking soda into it, because it is going to react immediately to the acid from the buttermilk, the lactic acid that we put into there. And we're going to get this fun little chemistry lesson of acid-base reactions. I don't know if many of you would, when you were little, you did like the vinegar and baking soda volcanoes. Well, it's the same concept in here. That vinegar or the acid, which is in the buttermilk that we're going to add into here, is going to react with that, and it's going to cause air bubbles. And what happens to air bubbles when they're in a batter? When they heat up, air expands, causing that lift in there. We're going to get that nice cakey surrounding of the corn dog. And so that's kind of a little chemistry lesson when it comes to it. And so once we get that into there, let's just add our salt. I'm just working on getting all the dry ingredients into there, and then we'll add in our wet ingredients to it. Now for this one, what I do is I add in the buttermilk and the egg together. And if I happen to find that it's not quite wet enough when I add the corn dog into it, I'll add a little more buttermilk to it and just adjust the consistency of it. So I'm going to want just about, make sure that's nice and mixed together, about 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk going to go into here. And then what I'm going to do is add the egg into the buttermilk, and then I'll whisk it together with the buttermilk in there. So very simple. Let's move this out of the way there. And just whisk that together. You know, I used to hate buttermilk when I was a kid. Now I really like it. I think it's pretty good. But I remember I'd always tease my grandma about it. So maybe I'm turning into my grandmother. I don't know. But I'd always tease her and say, oh, how can you stand buttermilk? It's just so strong. Now I actually like it. I think it's pretty good. Okay, once we get that added into there, I'm just going to use a fork, mix all this together until it comes together. Now, if you wanted to turn this into just cornbread, you could do that very easily. I would add in maybe some diced up bell peppers to it and some onion, something like that, and then just put it into a an 8x8 baking sheet or pan that you've sprayed with some vegetable oil, bake it off in the oven, 350 for probably about a half an hour, and it'd make delicious cornbread also. So remember what I said earlier is that corn dogs are really nothing more than just a cornbread recipe. So you could use, say, for example, like that Jiffy, is that what it's called, at the grocery store? You can use some of those cornbread mixes. If you have a favorite one that you'd like to use, you can do that, and it's easy to go. All right, so that's ready to go. Now you can see it's a thick consistency, but it'll still coat nicely our hot dogs. Now I have the oil over here that is heating up. You want to take it to about 365 degrees, and then we're going to fry them in them. Now the problem with corn dogs are the sticks in them, and my fryer isn't deep enough to where I can actually just stick that corn dog down in there like they do at the fair or wherever you're going. So I have a surefire trick for that I'll show you here when we come back in just a little bit. But I mean, corn dogs, who doesn't love a good corn dog? They're going to be amazing. We're going to get this dipped in here and get one frying up here. So when we come back, I'll explain the controversy of what I feel when it comes to the stick in the corn dog or not to stick in the corn dog. Don't go away. Are you looking for some delicious side dishes for dinner? Well, why not try Green Giant Fresh Minute Mashes? They're simple, they come in 3 different flavors for your dinner, and all you have to do is put them in the microwave, 7 minutes, pop them out, smash them in the bag, and serve them. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Welcome back, everybody, to Cooking with Chef Bryan. I'm having some fun here in the kitchen making some corn dogs. I love corn dogs. I buy them frozen in the grocery store and pop them in the microwave if I want something quick and easy to eat, but they are really fun and easy to make on your own. Now, if you missed just earlier, I've just made up a cornbread batter. That's all it is. And so if you have a favorite cornbread batter that you like the best, you can use that one, or you can use the one that I just showed you how to do. So what I do is I put them in the hot oil without a stick. And that's important because the stick then would just get oily putting it in a fryer like this. Because like I said earlier, I don't have those fryers that you clip the stick out of the oil, but the rest of it is in there frying like they do at the fair or wherever they make corn dogs in a restaurant or something like that. So I just fry them like this first, and then I'm going to add the stick to it. I just think that's a lot easier, and you don't have all that mess of an oily stick. And so I'll put this right into there, and it'll be yum. It already smells just like corn dogs cooking that up there. So it's kind of a fun breading on there. You can do hot dogs. You could do any type of thing that you wanted a cornbread breading on it for that matter, but it's just really good. Now what I do is I have my tongs ready to go, and then I will actually flip over in the fryer itself, just kind of rotate those corn dogs as they're cooking, because obviously the bottom one is going to cook a little bit faster than the top is going to, and then you just rotate it so they have a nice even golden brown on both sides. And so I'm just going to kind of watch these and just kind of rotate them as I need to. So those are looking really good. So I take my stick, and these are just, believe it or not, caramel apple sticks, and you've got to remember they do have a really sharp point on them, and so if you don't want kids eating that and potentially hurting themselves with it, you can just snip that off if you want to. I don't know if my knife will. I'll probably have to get one of my bigger scissors to snip that off. But if you just snip that off so that nobody pokes themselves, that might be a good idea. So just keep that in mind and gauge it according to whoever you're going to have eating corn dogs. Sometimes I'll just serve them just like this, and they'll be perfect. So a lot of fun. Now these two always are turning out a little bit yummier than I think shape-wise than the other two, I have to admit. This one down here that looks a little ski-wampus. I put it in there and then I kind of shook it trying to get it to come off the fork, and so the batter kind of went blah, 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 out in the fryer, but it's still going to be yummy. So those ones look a little smoother, a little nicer. You can take that stick, you're gonna just put it into that corn dog, right into the hot dog itself, and voila, there you have your corn dog. So very, very easy, very fun to make fun to do for parties. You can serve them just like this if you want to, and it's just fun. Now, we're gonna have some fun and put together just a really simple dressing and our dip to go into it. And my nephew, when he was little, he would call it dip dip. And so I think dip dips have all the world of difference when it comes to a delicious corn dog. So this is very easy. Here in the great state of Utah where we are, we're very famous for, what? What was that I just heard? Fry sauce. That's right. So we're famous for fry sauce. Fry sauce is nothing more than some ketchup and mayonnaise, but I'm going to use a Japanese mayonnaise. It's called Kewpie, and you can buy it now very often in grocery stores, and it comes kind of in these fun bottles. It's not the regular big glass bottles, but I think they are the Kewpie mayonnaise. So delicious. If you have an Asian store where you live, I would definitely go over and get some Kewpie mayonnaise and try it. Otherwise, you can order it online also and just have it shipped right to your house. Now, my little secret that I put in my dipping sauce, dill pickle relish. I like dill pickles, and I know if my mom's watching, she'll go, oh, dill pickle, that's overrated. She's a sweet pickle girl. So she'd probably put sweet pickle relish into it. But however you want to do it, it's just fun to create your own, have some fun. You can put a little cayenne pepper in there, some Tabasco if you want a little heat in there to spice things up, have some fun. But there's, you know, basically the famous Utah dipping fry sauce. And I have to admit, you know, when I was in New York, this has been several years ago, but I went out and I got a hamburger and fries in Manhattan with friends, my sister and that, when we were out there. And I said, do you have any fry sauce? It was my first trip to New York. And the worker there just kind of looked at me and went, fry sauce? What's that? That's what I learned. Fry sauce definitely is a Utah thing. So it's really good though. We'll teach the rest of the world to love it. How's that? So I'm just gonna put some sticks in the rest of these. This is that crazy funny one that I stuck in there and the fork was going like this, trying to get it to come off of the fork. You can see the batter kind of splurped out a little bit, but it'll still be delicious. All right, stick that stick into there and let's do this last one. Put the stick in there and I have to say, you know, what fair has it over us who now can make these delicious corn dogs. Oh my word, I can't wait for you guys to try these. Here's a little dipping sauce to go with them. It's a perfect way to enjoy a corn dog. And of course you can go grab the recipes over to cookingwithchefbryan.com. They're all there for you. But I hope you do try some corn dogs. But stick around because when we come back, let me show you how to make funnel cakes. They're really fun and easy.
It's no secret, frozen rolls are fresher than bakery rolls. You see, bakery rolls are made in commercial bakeries. Then they sit all day in stores. Some even contain preservatives because rolls begin to stale immediately. By the time you eat your roll, it could already be days old. Rhodes Bake and Serve is found in your grocer's freezer. Simply take Rhodes frozen roll dough home and let it thaw and rise in a pan. Bake Rhodes rolls in your own oven. Rhodes Bake and Serve, hot and fresh, right out of your oven.
Welcome back, everybody. Of course, I'm going to show you how to do funnel cakes. How can we do corn dogs and not do funnel cakes? It's kind of like fair foods, right? And these are fun for any holiday that you can put together. Fun dessert idea, fun ways to do hot dogs for the holidays. Very, very simple to do. So to do the corn or the funnel cakes, I have found that making the batter is important because if you use a cake mix, it's a little too runny and it just kind of falls apart in there. So you need a little firmer batter, such as this one here. Now I've started off in here with the flour, the baking powder, there's salt that's going to go into there. And then here I have the wet ingredients that are all together. I have buttermilk, I have eggs, I have vanilla. That's in there. And that's what I'm going to add right into our dry ingredients and just mix all of this together. So that it pulls together into a wet dough. It's our batter, I should say, more likely. A dough's a little firmer, but you do want it to be really a thick cake batter consistency. Now, while I'm doing this, of course, I hope that you have piping bags, and I'll show them. I have mine over here ready to go. But they're so important because I used to say you can do this with like a resealable plastic bag, and you really can just snip off the corner of the bag. But I've also found that it's so much easier if you have piping bags. And nowadays, you can find them anywhere. Even the grocery stores will sell piping bags. You can get them at any kitchen store. You can also, now see how thick that is? That's a little thick for me, so let's just add in a little more buttermilk. I would just, get you some piping bags so that you have them when you need them, because generally when you get them, they come in a gross, like 100 a roll or something like that. But everybody should have access to piping bags now, and they really do work better than the actual Ziploc or resealable plastic bags. So that's just my own 2 cents there. So once you get all of this mixed together, what we're going to do, that looks better. Now you can see it's still a little thick. There you go. See how thick that is still a little bit? But that's exactly what we want. It's runny enough that it's going to pipe out nicely, but yet it's thin enough that we can put it into our piping bag. So here's the bag. I've just pulled the top down over it. It's ready to go. I'm going to just take a measuring cup here. I'm going to take it and just kind of spoon that right into it. Let it fall into it. I guess not spoon, dump it in there. So get it in there. Now the biggest mistake people make when they are first off on using piping bags is they overfill them. Don't overfill it. So, that's good for me, that I can handle. And so I'm going to let that just fall on the top. Just kind of press it down so it holds into there. Give it a twist. And now it's nice and clean. You see how that works there? And then I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip off the end. About, you'll have to judge how thick you want it to be. And be careful with that little tip. Get it out of the way, because so many times I've seen that end up into food. People forget it's there. They roll out the dough, something. It just gets in the food. Okay, so once that's done, you can see it's nice and ready to go. And what I'm going to do is just very slowly let that drizzle over. And you want it to basically begin to cook. You don't want it to sink all the way to the bottom yet, because a lot of times if you sink it all the way to the bottom, it'll stick. And you don't want it to stick. And so you're just going to now just kind of swirl it all around, overlapping itself. And there we go. There's one of those little cakes that we're going to let just cook up in the fryer itself. You can use your tongs to, help flip that around. But I love funnel cakes. I just think they're so good. And then you can top them off with, jam or powdered sugar or syrups or frosting or whatever you want to. And this one's just looking great. This is a nice stiff enough batter that it holds together in the fryer and it doesn't just kind of dissipate in there. And that's what I found with cake mixes. So you have to be really careful. Be sure it's a little thicker batter on there. I'm going to let this one just fry up here. So when we come back here in just a minute, we'll finish all of these up. I kind of feel like we're having a fair day today with the corn dogs and the funnel cakes. I just think it's one of those delicious ideas that, any holiday is good for. And who doesn't like the smell of frying cake in the fryer, right? Don't go away. When we come back, we'll finish up both of these and enjoy our funnel cakes. Are you looking for some delicious side dishes for dinner? Well, why not try Green Giant Fresh Minute Mashes? They're simple, they come in 3 different flavors for your dinner, and all you have to do is put them in the microwave, 7 minutes, pop them out, smash them in the bag, and serve them. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Welcome back, everybody. It seems like the show just flies by because we're having so much fun here. At least I am. I hope you are at home too. I mean, who wouldn't love homemade corn dogs? They are delicious. And they're not just any corn dogs, of course. They're buttermilk corn dogs. And so, people can brag, like I said earlier, about their buttermilk pancakes and waffles. Now you all can brag about your buttermilk corn dogs, and they'll be delicious with our fun little dipping sauce that I showed you how to do, which is so typical of the state Utah that we live in, but it's just a delicious. I used Kewpie instead of regular mayonnaise. Kewpie is a Japanese mayonnaise, and so it's very, very simple. You can just find it in the Asian market, and many grocery stores sell it now, and so it's really readily available, and I like it actually better than mayonnaise. So that's going to go with our corn dogs. Our funnel cakes, how fun are those to put together? And I think one of the best ways to eat a funnel cake is just with some sprinkling of powdered sugar on it. And so I'm just going to take some powdered sugar, a little sprinkling on there. It kind of looks like snow on top of the mountain. Sprinkle that on there. Of course, you can use any type of topping that you want to. A favorite jam, if you have a favorite jam, you can put that on top of it, or however you want. But what a fun idea for the holidays, for anything, family get-togethers that you're doing. You can do some homemade corn dogs and funnel cakes. Who's not going to love that? Now you can head on over to cookingwithchefbryan.com, grab all of these recipes here. They are on there as well as many, many others. And if you're looking for some great grilling recipes for the holidays, oh, there's many of them on there as well. So just have at them, enjoy them. They're fun, they're delicious. I love recipes, and like I always say, they're merely guidelines anyway. So if you find a recipe that you like, use what you have in your house. Don't go out special and buy something. Use what you have in your house, put it together, and enjoy some delicious food. Delicious food doesn't have to be complicated. And as always, thank you for saying hi when you see me out and about. It's always a pleasure to meet you all. And I am on social media, so you can find me there, especially Instagram, cooking, or Chef Bryan Woolley there. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll see you all next time. You can find all of these complete recipes on my website, cookingwithchefbryan.com.